Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, my name is Nils and today I'm going to review some jibes from my winter training in Tarifa to see what I'm doing right, what I can improve on, and hopefully you can take away something for yourself, for your own jibing from this video. Alright, the first jibe we're gonna take a look at is actually not from myself, but it's a video from Andrea Cookie, who is the boss of Point 7, from a couple years back, and I found this video the other day on YouTube, and it actually gave me the idea for this video to review my own jibes, and hopefully I can spot some things that I can improve in my jibing. So we're gonna use this video as kind of a reference for my own jibing. And Andrea sailed at the World Cup for many years and he did quite well there. So we're gonna take this video as a reference for my own jibing to see what I need to do to improve and get to the next level. As I'm usually doing speed and focusing on speed on straight line, and not focusing so much on jibing, but jibing is still one of the most important things in windsurfing, and I think it's really important that you can do a good jibe, so I really want to improve on that further. So let's take a look at the jibes. So this video is from Lake Garda, and it looks pretty flat here. I think it's Malcesine where they're sailing. And yeah, he's on big gear, on a 9.4 I think, with the big slalom board, and doing a really nice laydown jibe here. So let's see what he's doing. Like, first of all, I notice he's going full downwind. Like, he's picking up a lot of speed before going in the jibe. Because the higher the entry speed is, the higher the exit speed will be, and the more speed you can lose during the jibe and still come out fully planing. Okay, so then the next thing I see is that he's putting his backhand really far back before the jibe. And what that allows him to do is really pull in the sail because he's doing a laydown jibe here. So that's really a good move to put the backhand a lot further back compared to where it was when he was sailing on a straight line. Then next, for railing the board, you can see he's taking out his back foot out of the foot strap, putting it parallel to his front foot and really pushing hard on the back foot while kind of lifting up the rail with his front foot to really get that carving on the board going. So next you can see him as he's doing a laydown jibe, he's really stretching out his front arm to put the sail down as low as possible and pulling hard with his back arm to really get that sail down. And then the next thing he's doing for this laydown jibe is kind of pulling both arms back to get the sail towards the back of the board and kind of close the gap for this laydown jibe, which looks really nice here. So next, for shifting the sail, you can see that he put his front arm to the front of the boom, almost to the mast, so that when shifting the sail, you can immediately just grab the other side of the boom without doing extra steps with the arms and just get the rotation done really quickly. And the other thing that he's doing really well here is keeping the body very close to the sail, so that way you get a nice jibe going. Then once he's shifted the sail, you can see really well in this video that he's pushing hard on the rail with his feet. And that way you can kind of get this perfect radius going that you're doing during the jibe and not let the board go too far upwind after the jibe. So he's doing that really well, pushing with both feet on the rail to keep the radius of the jibe and get out with a lot of exit speed, and stretching the front leg when getting out of the jibe. That way you keep the board kind of flat, not let it bounce around too much, which is another thing that's really important, is that you don't let the board bounce around too much during the jibe. And you do that by putting the right amount of weight on your feet while pushing the front foot while getting out of the jibe. This puts the forward momentum again and doesn't let the board go too much upwind, and also keeps the board down to not let it bounce around too much after the jibe. Alright, all in all, a really nice jibe, but what did you expect? He's a PWA rider, he's trained that jibe for many years. So now let's get into my first jibe and see how I look compared to a PWA pro. Okay, so this first jibe is from a really choppy and wavy session at Arte Vida in Tarifa, and it was onshore direction, so it's kind of the more tricky conditions compared to the offshore conditions. Okay, so first of all, I'm really going far downwind here to pick up some speed, which is not the easiest thing in conditions like that where it's really choppy. So probably I am at around maybe 26, 27 knots before entering the jibe here. So not at like full speed, but I'm picking up decent speed for the conditions. Then what you can also see is that the board is bouncing around a little bit here, but I'm not letting it fly uncontrollably, because if I did that I would lose a lot of speed. Okay, next you can see me really rail the board here, and while I'm railing the board I'm kind of hitting this wave from the back. So I really need to keep the board in this position over the wave while it is falling down from the wave, keep the railing going to keep the radius of the jibe the same. And I think what I could have done here a little bit better is go further down into my knees to kind of absorb the waves a little bit more, because that way the board is staying more flat and not losing more speed. And yeah, as the conditions are really tricky here, I'm of course not doing a laydown jibe. I'm doing more of a like conventional jibe. But I think another thing you can see here is that I could have already put the front foot a little bit further to the front on the boom, and that way I would have had it a little bit easier while shifting the sail, because I don't need to make so much movement. Yeah, while shifting the sail I keep my body really close to the sail, which you want to do in a jibe, because if you keep it far away from you, you will lose a lot of speed again. And then what I do before I shift the cambers and battens, I really stretch out my front leg, which I talked about before, because this way I keep the forward momentum, keep the radius of the jibe going, and while shifting the sail, which comes next, I really put all of that energy that I get from the sail now and put it through my front foot in the forward direction, keep the board flat. But then what kind of hits me unexpectedly here, which you see next, is this kind of wave, because I'm kind of putting the rail, I put too much pressure on the rail and putting the rail into the wave, and it kind of gets wobbly there for a second. I mean, I'm still getting out planing, but that was a little bit tricky, but of course that's also due to the conditions. And yeah, next you see me getting into the foot straps and sailing along. So I think overall that was a solid jibe. What I could have done better is try to even keep the board a little bit more stable with more body tension, going further down into my knees, putting the front hand a little bit further onto the front on the boom, and kind of pulling in the sail a little bit more. Not do a lay down jibe, but if you're pulling in the sail a little bit more and then let it shift, you're kind of getting a little bit more speed out of the jibe again. Gotta get some coffee. Alright, let's get into the second jibe, and it's also from Tarifa, but the conditions are completely different here. We have the offshore direction, which is called Levante in Tarifa. So the water is really flat, and I'm already sailing along the beach very far downwind, because the wind is coming at like a direction of 130 degrees offshore. So I'm already sailing at full speed downwind, and compared to the last clip, I probably have a lot more speed here as I'm already sailing downwind. So I'm probably entering the jibe at a speed of around maybe 35 knots compared to the last clip where I entered the jibe with a speed of maybe 25 to 27 knots, somewhere in that range. So here I have a lot more speed to work with during the jibe, and the water is a lot flatter. Okay, so now I'm taking out my back foot out of the foot strap, placing it on the other side and lowering the sail. And what I can already see is I could have gone also here a lot further down into my knees to kind of absorb the chop a little bit better and keep the board more steady. And also this would have been the perfect opportunity to do a really good laydown jibe. So what I would have needed to do here to lay the sail down even more is really push out the front arm, like I said in the beginning in Andreas' video, who did it really well, and pull more with the back arm, which I'm not doing here. If I pulled more with the back arm and pulled both arms to the back, I could have really put the sail down and do a nice laydown jibe here. But aside from that, I can see that I'm entering the jibe here with a lot of speed, so I'm kind of like taking it easy, because I know I will come out planing out of this jibe anyway. So in this situation I can afford to do some mistakes during the jibes, because I have the speed to still get out planing out of the jibe. Okay, here I'm shifting the sail, and now looking back at the footage I can see where I can improve on that, because I'm doing a couple of things here that I'm not doing completely right and that I could do to do better jibes, which of course is the goal. So first of all, I'm a little bit further away from the sail compared to the last clip, which is losing me some speed. And sometimes when you're going into the jibe with a lot of speed, it's kind of difficult to keep full control, and I think that's what's happening here. Because another thing I can see is that I kind of shift the sail too slow. Like in these conditions where it's really flat, I can even pull a bit with the back arm before shifting the sail to give the sail like some more momentum before the flip and the rotation, so that the jibe is going quicker. And yeah, here I see I'm kind of shifting the sail a little bit too slowly. And yeah, then once I've shifted the sail, what I can see here, what is not optimal, is that I don't really bend my front leg as much as I did in the last clip, and am kind of more hovering over the board. Instead of putting the momentum forward while shifting the sail through my front leg, I'm not really getting out that much power out of the sail. I'm just kind of more shifting it and let the board run with the speed I'm already having, instead of just shifting the sail and putting all the pressure through my front leg again. So here, what I could have done better to do a better jibe is, same like in the last clip, to really stretch my front leg, keep the board down, and put all the momentum forward. But I think it's still kind of a nice jibe. I think I'm a little bit overpowered here. So if you're really overpowered, it's kind of difficult to do everything right in this short amount of time, as you're feeling like a little bit out of your comfort zone. And it's a lot harder to do all the things in your head that you want to do during the jibe. But overall, I'd say it's still a solid jibe, coming out nicely planing with a lot of speed. So yeah, nice jibe. It was a really fun session. Alright, let's get to the last jibe, which is again from the same day as my first jibe, but I'm doing a couple of things different here compared to the first jibe, so let's get into it. Okay, so again, I'm coming in with a lot of speed downwind over the waves. You can see the board kind of flying over the waves. I'm waiting here after passing the last wave. I only then start initiating the jibe, so I'm kind of jibing in between the two waves, to use the flat water in between the two waves to do a good jibe and not let the board bounce around too much, which I think is really good. And then the next thing I can immediately see in this jibe is I'm going a lot further down into my knees on this jibe, and this way I manage to keep the board really steady and keep the pressure on the board and not lose too much speed compared to the first jibe. So this is a lot better jibe in my opinion. And then what I also do is I kind of push the sail a little bit with the backhand before shifting, so that I give some momentum to the sail for it to rotate faster. And then you can also see really nicely in this clip what I do with my hands while shifting the sail. So I have the front hand far on the front of the boom towards the mast, and if you do that, you need to do less movement to get over to the other side. So here what you can see, I'm taking my backhand and putting it with one move straight into the position where my new front hand is, and then I'm taking my front hand from the other side, which is now my backhand, and putting it straight on the position where now my backhand is. And that way I stay really close to the sail while shifting the sail, and I can immediately shift the sail, get the power going. And also here I think, yeah, I'm really overstretching my front leg again and putting all the power that my sail gives me after rotating straight into forward momentum, keeping the sail down by jibing in between the waves. I have like a nice flat spot where I can do a nice jibe, not like in the last jibe where the wave kind of let the board bounce around again all over the place, and come out with more speed out of this jibe compared to the last one. Alright, that's the 3 jibes I wanted to analyze from Tarifa, and this was a really fun video for me, as I kind of had to think a lot about my jibes, because I usually just jibe around and don't think about what I'm doing. But reviewing my jibes like that, I can really see a lot of things that I can improve on now, like pulling more with my backhand on the sail, kind of being more active with the sail, because I really know what to do with the board. But what I think I saw in this video is that I need to be more active with the sail and not let the sail do what it wants, but kind of giving the sail more direction where to go while jibing. So I'm gonna try to put my backhand even further back on the boom before jibing, pulling more with the backhand, and then kind of pushing the sail more before rotating, so that I have a quicker shift of the sail and don't lose so much time and speed. I hope you liked this video and found it helpful and can take away something from this video. If you enjoyed it, I would be really happy if you left me a like, and if you haven't yet already, subscribe to the channel if you want to. And yeah, thanks to my Patreons for supporting me. If you're interested in that, I have a Patreon. You can send me clips, videos, whatever, talk to me, and I will try to help you out with your windsurfing, with your tuning, whatever it may be. So I would love to have you over there. Thanks to the supporters over at Patreon. And that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.